I'm simply volunteering to do some of the intros for the presenters for Arts for All. And I have the pleasure of introducing Ken Westdorp. Gateway to Obscurity is a collection of poetry amassed over some 20 years that describes the troublesome journey of seeking one's true identity against the conforming restraints of society that society imposes. From early childhood to inevitable death, each poem weaves an intricate picture of emotions that is sure to connect with the reader. Confronted by various gates during the passage of time, a person must confront difficult decisions that are filled with all sorts of peril in order to gain a greater perspective of what life has intended. To discover one's ultimate purpose is both frightening and exciting in the moment, and yet to deny such possibilities because of fear over the unknown is like compromising the soul's destiny beyond mere existence. Without further ado, Ken.
Thank you. Yes, I am the weird mind behind Gateway to Obscurity, which, as you know, is seeking one's identity in life. And with your indulgence, I'd like to read a few poems. And the first one I'd like to start with is A Mother's Love, which was originally written for Mother's Day, and I've since revised it. And it goes something like this. I thank you so much for bringing me forth in life, nurturing me through gestation, ensuring my eventual birth. In childhood, I suckled your breast, gaining strength and further development. Within your arms, I found love and comfort from loneliness. You taught me understanding and encouraged my dreams. When I was ill or injured, you aided in my recovery. During times of family squabbling, you sheltered me from the storm. Acting on my behalf, you helped to keep the family intact. At times, I would abuse your love, subjecting you to teenage rage. The terrible names I called you, torturing you in awful ways. How fortunate to have you as my mother, with all the trouble I put you through. I know I don't say it often enough, but you're my best friend in the world. The next one I'd like to read is about the old homestead, because a part of my childhood was growing up in Newton, and so I have a big connection with Newton. So, though long ago replaced by several new developments, the place I was born will never be forgotten. A modest one-story structure, never meant for a growing family. Living room fireplace, often heated the home. Backyard gardens were necessary of life. Back then, neighbors were considered friends, and grandparents lived just next door. As children, we ventured down nearby streets, engaging our imaginations instead of playing electronics. Overcrowded malls like Guildford and Surrey Place were far-off places. Instead, we frequented neighborhood shops. Libraries were smaller and crowded with books. Childhood playtime and holiday gatherings were documented in black and white movies. Aging photographs preserved fond memories of our parents and my family. Many familiar features have all disappeared. For as the old homestead on 132nd and near 72nd, many random dwellings now occupy the space. And for my next poem, it's entitled Weak, and it's about growing up as a weak child and about being bullied both in school and as my father. The expectations society places upon us as men, especially when my generation, where we were expected to not show any emotion except for, rage and anger. And it's about understanding who I am inside. Strength and bravery fractured by humanity. Understanding beneath a hardened shell. Weak, yet courageous to demonstrate emotions. Bold and unafraid of lurking darkness. Vulnerable to attachment, tugging at my heart. Legendary heroics and physical bravado. Conscious objectors who negotiated peace. powerful warrior ready to do battle, defender of innocence with little regard of self, dedicated soldier to a justified cause, defiant and righteous in protecting the sacred, steadfast commitment beneath human frailty, a true believer grounded by compassion, resilience to adversity grounded by understanding, mere mortals challenge insurmountable odds, champions of the oppressed taking a stand, ordinary people making the ultimate sacrifice. My next poem is Childhood Mentor, and some of you might remember a show called Mr. Rogers long ago. He even grew up with it, and I wrote this as a dedication to him shortly after he died. Farewell, gentle soul, who nurtured generations, a childhood mentor who instilled love. Despite political and civil unrest, you remain true. Among the neighborhood were such memorable characters as Speedy Delivery and King Friday, to name but a few. Without veil, you were there, Mr. Rogers, less sophisticated than his contemporaries, loved by all, the boys and girls, who turned in each morning show, a welcoming smile with a gentle voice of absolute warmth. Beyond there awaits a magic place. Though now gone, your influence will remain. And the next poem I would like to read is Family Dynamics. It explains basically the family I grew up with, my sisters and my uncles and nephews and nieces, and how we all got along or didn't get along. Brothers and sisters, aunts and uncles, cousins, nephews and nieces form an extended family united by blood through marriage. Long ago mistakes become outstanding grudges that shake the foundation. Childish errors blown out of proportion. Isolation of innocence, guilt by association. Immature behavior exaggerates the situation. Family dynamics, once built upon a structure of love, elements of survival dictate the necessity of overall cooperation and the ability to forgive. Lessons from the past mustn't interfere with the establishment of future. Unity and understanding, respect and trust, honesty, forgiveness, and love must prevail over petty grievances that wedge a family apart. Middle child. This poem is about being the middle child of four, being the youngest and being the only male. There was both my sister and I, we had a difficult relationship with our father. There was lots of physical and verbal abuse, which was considered discipline back then, and we often felt belittled and unloved. Neither beginning nor end, but in the middle, fighting for an identity among my sibling rivalry. Often overlooked is the middle child, burdened with the yoke of the eldest sibling, neglected by parents who pampered the baby, struggling for attention with disastrous results, living within a fantasy in order to be appreciated. Growing isolation leads to greater rebellion. A middle syndrome, troublesome child, exhibiting behavior of a radical nature, a growing nuisance to a perfect family. Revealing emotions with artistic flair, labeled childish and typical of a middleborn. Perseverance overcomes artificial expectations. Newly recognized creativity gradually becomes appreciated. Eventually, balance adds some stability, maturity, and understanding heal earlier conflicts. Growing admiration for the middle child, situated in the center by virtue of birth, meaning found within a child's search for purpose. And the next one's called Parental Expectations. Growing up as the only male child, my father expected me to not only, carry on the name, but follow in his business and be the son that he always expected. And sometimes that didn't always work out because I was more the arts one. He was more the meat and potatoes guy that kind of worked in backyard and built things and worked on cars, which I wasn't interested in. But as he grew older and got sicker, I kind of understood him, where he came from. Conflicts and lack of consultation alienated each generation. Guilt and manipulation, upholding productivity, managing the family business. Artistic merit belittled as frivolous and childish. Abandoned dreams inflict teenage regret. Necessary responsibilities overshadow another's pursuits. Unspoken regrets enforce a stringent agenda. Parental expectations ignite rifts between family members. Academic challenges to an imaginative mind. Rules and regulations over creativity. Talented behavior squandered beneath a father's ambitions. Hardship and anger drive a wedge between father and son. Time and reflection help to overcome sever roadblocks. This is a special poem for my lovely wife, Ardita. She's from Albania, so I incorporated some things about Albania into the poem. And it basically is a tribute to her and how she's been sort of my inspiration into writing this book in the first place. She gave me the push when I sort of slacked off. My Balkan beauty, personified with traditions quite diverse from my own. A strong-willed individual devoted to ideals of the past. You are my Balkan beauty, unique in every way, rich with features defined by a culture and a history among the Albanian people. My Balkan beauty to whom none can compare. The spell you cast upon this heart is both exotic and unusually mystifying. An expressive being whose knowledge is vast, instilled with wisdom and consideration towards others. The only person able to ensnare this heart. A refined Balkan beauty merge with a Buni person. My lifetime partner, steadfast in her commitment and unwavering passion, nurtures my maturity. Our matrimonial union, although often tested, remains forever steadfast. And the next poem is called Conflict and Conversation. And it was inspired by a radio show I heard, I think a few years ago, about how conversation and communication between two people is an often lost art, and we shouldn't squander it. So, opposites attraction develop beyond a physical engagement into a long-term relationship. Temporary courting rituals increasingly becomes scarce. Verbal aggression overwhelms the situation. Enraged emotions cause momentary blindness. Stubborn silence infuriates a ceasefire. Bottled up feelings wedge couples apart. Apologies are forthcoming without any lasting resolution. Understanding never happens to bridge the growing gap. Conflict unleashes verbal hostility towards unresolved hurt. Mutual conversation initiates the healing and eventual respect. Openness and honesty break down the walls. Unflinching clarity can focus the illusion. Despite the difficulties, love is worth the fight. Awareness of one another helps fortify the bond. Determination is the key to a lengthy solution. Unyielding commitment will ensnare success. Worthy characteristics magnify the passion. Enlightenment personalities fuse two distinct minds. What was once physical flourishes into promise. Finally, this is a poem dedicated to my father, who, although he was a man who was difficult to understand, about a year before he died, he had a stroke, and that was when I first found that he let down his armor. He truly became the person I could understand. And when he died, I felt, he went gently into the night, because at that time he was a weak man, and before he was very strong, and being weak, he couldn't really handle. So I wrote this originally at 3 o'clock in the morning as a dedication to him, and on the same day that we were going to dedicate his ashes to a favorite fishing hole of his. I think it goes something like this. Passing. Upon these fertile waters, we cast your ashes this day. A father, a son, a brother, and a devoted husband. May you find peace and tranquility in life's final journey. Within nature's greatest symphony, each wave and ripple calms the pain. Though no longer among us, your memories will last. A child, a man, a mentor, and someone special. One day we will join you. Once more, our family then will be complete. Till then, we say goodbye, as your spirit is set free. Thank you.
We're allowed to ask questions. You can ask some other
Yes,
questions.
you can ask questions.
I think you should have an index. Half the time I lost where you were.
Okay. That'll do next time.
Or a page for each page. 1, 2, 3, 4. Because I've read the book going on 3 times. And the only way I read it is to follow each page. But if I ever wanted a special poem, I've been looking for it here for the different ones here. So in every book, usually you get a page or you get an index. I have that same problem in